So this is Hoopla's homepage. And the web address for this is hoopladigital.com. You can see the web address up at the top here, hoopladigital.com. Now, just so everybody knows, what I'm currently using is a laptop, and I'm using the Chrome web browser to access hoopladigital.com. And this will depend on each individual person using Hoopla. If you have a smartphone or a tablet that you want to use for Hoopla, you would want to add the Hoopla app to that device. And again, because we have different companies who are providing this hardware, like we all heard of the Apple iPhone, and then another popular item is like maybe like a Samsung Android phone or a Samsung Android tablet. They all will be able to, you can use Hoopla on either style device. They're just competitors. That's all that's is. But Hoopla works on both. So whether you have an Apple iPhone or perhaps an Android-based tablet or smartphone, you want to go to that specific device's app store and download the Hoopla app to that device. If you prefer to just use your laptops or desktop computers, you can do that as well. So when getting started with Hoopla, you're going to visit this website, hoopladigital.com, and there's a blue button right in the middle where it says Get Started. I'm going to go ahead and, now I've already gotten started personally with my own library card information. So I'm just going to click the Get Started button so I can show everybody what it's going to look like for you on your end. So I'll click Get Started. So it says, Welcome to Hoopla. All you need is a valid library card number and PIN and a valid email address. So I'm going to go ahead and click Let's Go. And so with my computer, it recognizes through my web browser that I'm in Tompkins County. So it's suggesting at the very top of the list, Tompkins County Public Libraries. And since that's where my library card is from, Tompkins County Public Library, I'm going to go ahead and select Tompkins County Public Library. So when I click on it, the little blue check mark comes up in the right side there. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next. So the next screen is asking for my card number and PIN. So now, because I've already created my account, I'm going to try it and see what it says, but I've already done this once, so it probably will not let me do it again. But let me go ahead and enter that information. Okay, so it's telling me it's invalid. So I'm going to go ahead and just, at this point, back up a step here. Okay. So just to clarify, for people who've never done this before, you're going to go ahead and click Get Started, Let's Go, and then Tompkins County Public Library. And then right below, there's a little blue button here. It's kind of at the bottom of the screen. And then your library card number and PIN.
Tom, I've got a question. I've
Sorry?
got a question for you right away. If you have made an alias for instead of your library card number, can you use that, or do you have to use the actual number?
Use the actual library card number.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Your alias will work on our public access catalog, the digital catalog that you can browse for books on. It won't work for Libby or Hoopla. You want to use the card number itself, starting with the letter D.
Yeah, I use it on the regular catalog all the time. So
Right.
yeah.
Yes, you definitely use your alias for that. That's totally fine. Okay. So now, because I've already done these steps before, it's not going to let me do these steps a second time. But I wanted to go through those steps for everybody else because if you've never done them before, I wanted to familiarize you with them. So basically what we're doing is, at some point, after I enter my library card number and PIN, the next screen will ask people for their email address and for you to create a password that you will use just for Hoopla. Just like you create a password for your email account, or perhaps like at Amazon.com, maybe you have a password for that. It's basically the same. After you've connected your library card number and PIN with your email account and the Hoopla password, going forward, all you're going to need to sign into Hoopla will be your email and the password that you created for Hoopla specifically. Does anybody have questions about that?
Where do we get our PIN?
What's that?
Where do we get our PIN? How do we?
In most
that-
cases, for people who created their library card in person at the library, the PIN will be the last 4 digits of your phone number.
Okay.
Tom, is there an option for Remember Me once you've signed in and created the passwords?
That's a good question. So actually, because I've already done these steps about a year ago, if we kind of focus on the top right corner of the screen where it says login,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go. So with the app itself, I think it will automatically remember your login once you've done it. But on a web browser like I'm using, I'm gonna go ahead and click login, and we'll see. Yep, it's right here underneath the password field. It
Okay.
says remember this device.
Okay, good.
So that's specific to web browsers.
Correct.
In my experience with an actual application, like the app on a smartphone or a tablet, or even a smart TV, once you log in the first time, you should be fine going forward. So just to be clear, going forward, whenever you sign into Hoopla, you're not going to actually use your library card anymore. Once you have connected your library card number and PIN, that verifies you have a library account. Your next step is to give Hoopla your email address and create a password for Hoopla, which I've done. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that information into the login screen right now. Then
So Tom, this is Leslie. I want to just say I'm following along on my iPad and it looks just the same. You're working on your laptop, but I'm on my iPad and so far it's been the same.
Right. Now, are you using Safari on your iPad? Or are you using the Hoopla app?
The Hoopla app. I mean, using the app. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yep.
That's
I feel like once we get
that's programmer specific. Good for the programmers. They made them the same. They don't always do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Libby is like the Libby ebook app is almost virtually identical, whether you're using the web browser version of it or an app version of it. So yes, I'm happy that they do it that way. So I'm basically signing in with my username and password. I'm not signing in with my library card anymore. We're done with that information for now. I'm never gonna save my password. This is a shared computer, so I don't typically save passwords on a shared computer. Okay, so here we are. This is Hoopla's home screen in a web browser, and I'm signed in. I'm gonna go from left to right. Top left corner is Hoopla. So if you see the Hoopla logo, that can kind of like if you ever want to go back to the home page for whatever reason, you just click the Hoopla logo. Now there's the next one to the right of Hoopla is My Hoopla. So I'm gonna click that little drop down arrow. So I can look at in My Hoopla, I can look at what I currently have borrowed, if I have any hold requests, if I've submitted any title requests, if I've identified anything as a favorite, and I can check my history. To the right of that is browse. So we can browse by content. Like if you want to browse for audiobooks or comic books. So to clarify, audiobooks and ebooks are both digital books. Audiobooks you would listen to, ebooks you would read the text-based version of the book. We also have movies, music, television, and binge passes. My understanding with binge passes is that's like a bundle of things that counts only as one checkout. So it's kind of handy if you want to grab a bunch of things at once, but only have one checkout, you could use the binge pass.
So
Now,
Tom, a quick question. Does Hoopla, if you have the app on your iPad and for example, the iPhone, does it sync? And does it also sync up with Libby by any chance?
Okay, so it won't sync with Libby because they're kind of competitors.
Right.
The separate entities. But
Okay.
what you've borrowed, if you've borrowed something on your iPad and you give it a second and go check your iPhone, they should sync up as long as you're
Okay.
signed in with the same information.
Yeah, but within Hoopla, it will sync, but not
Right.
go. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Hoopla and Libby are not related, other than the fact that we offer both of them through the library. It's like thinking, do you want to go to McDonald's for a cheeseburger or Burger King for a cheeseburger? So
I have a question. So you mentioned somewhere in describing how to get set up, but you can connect Hoopla to a smart TV?
right, depending, like, if you're familiar with your smart TV, if it's a smart TV, you're able to add apps to a smart TV just as you are to a tablet or a smartphone. So, that's hard to demonstrate because I don't have access to a smart TV right now. But if you've ever added an app if you own a smart TV and you've ever added an app to it, you would just follow those same steps and you want to search for Hoopla. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
What
Tom,
about using a Roku stick?
that's what I was gonna ask about,
Right.
because Hoopla shows up on my Roku menu, but I haven't done anything with it, so.
Right.
Ooh, nice.
Have you ever added anything with the Roku before? Like any other services?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
I'm sorry?
Apple Plus and Hulu and
like Hulu or Netflix or
Right,
Peacock.
right.
If you're comfortable adding any of those apps to a Roku stick, you should also be able to add Hoopla to the Roku stick.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
You're welcome. Okay. Let me try to minimize this so I don't, let me drag that here. Good. So we can browse by these different formats: audiobooks, comics, ebooks, movies, music, television, binge passes. And then just to the right of browse is your search menu, or your search bar with a magnifying glass. So for instance, the search field is good for if you know the exact title or author that you're searching for. So what you could do, like for instance, a trending search is Harry Potter. So if I want to search Harry Potter, I only wanted audio. So just to the right of where I keyed in Harry Potter, I'm sorry, just to the left of that is where it says everything. If I only want to see audiobooks for Harry Potter, I could highlight audiobooks. Or if I only want to see Harry Potter movie related items, I could click on movies. So let me try audiobooks. So I'll search Harry Potter with audiobooks and click on the magnifying glass. And so now here are my results. So I searched for Harry Potter on audiobook and it's showing me 1 through 48 of a total of 591 results for Harry Potter. Now, the nice thing about Hoopla, this is a big difference between Hoopla and Libby. Hoopla allows for simultaneous borrowing, meaning if I want to borrow a Harry Potter book at the same time everybody else in this workshop wants to borrow the Harry Potter book, we can all borrow it at the same time. The difference is with Libby, which we'll talk about in May, is if the library only owns 5 digital copies of Harry Potter and 5 of us borrow it, patron number 6 has to wait until one of us checks it in. So that's one difference between Hoopla and Libby.
So does the library have to pay Hoopla more for that capability or something? I mean, how does the library finance that?
So basically,
Multiple
the library
copies.
pays Hoopla a subscription fee, but what we don't do is any kind of collection development. We pay Hoopla to provide this to our patrons. What we're lacking is the ability for librarians on staff to order books for Hoopla. Because that's the other big difference between Hoopla and Libby. With Libby, through Overdrive, we are able to order books through the Overdrive marketplace and provide books to our patrons. Like patrons can do purchase requests for Libby. Now, Hoopla just introduced something, or I'm not sure how old it is, but Hoopla did make something available to us, and we subscribe to this new service as well. Let me go back to the homepage real quick. Let's click on Hoopla. And I'm just gonna scroll this homepage for a few seconds until I see what I'm looking for. But as I'm scrolling, if people are noticing the lightning bolt above the cover artwork, if you ever see the lightning bolt is for instant access. What's something new to us here at the library, I'll pause right here, with the popular Flex eBooks. Flex eBooks is the new service that we just started subscribing to. If you notice, instead of a lightning bolt, it's been replaced by 2 circular arrows. These Flex eBooks are titles that patrons can borrow, but they behave more like the Libby books, where if I borrow and we only, so like for instance, First I Wins, if we only own 1 copy of this book and I borrow it, everyone else in this workshop has to wait until I return it, because it's a Flex book, not a instant book. So instant is recognizable with a lightning bolt right here. Flex is recognizable by the 2 curving arrows. Now, what I will say is we have a lot more instant books with the lightning bolts, or I'll say instant content. Content meaning ebooks, audiobooks, movies, TV, and comics, and music. A lot more of our collection is made up of this with the lightning bolt than it is with the Flex titles. I should close my email real quick so I don't keep getting these pop-ups. Go away. Okay. So I'm gonna scroll back to the top of the page. In fact, I'm gonna go back to where it says my Hoopla. And I'm gonna go to where it says currently borrowed. So currently I borrowed 2 titles. I borrowed these 2 titles during a workshop with McGraw House about a week and a half ago. But why I'm going to this particular screen where it says currently borrowed, it gives me a rundown of what I currently have available to me, because the checkouts in Hoopla are limited by month. So the lightning bolt is showing me I currently have 5 instant borrows remaining for the rest of this month. And I also have 3 additional Flex borrows remaining right now. So what that means is with the lightning bolt content, the lightning bolt movies, music, and books, you're only allowed to borrow up to 5 items in a calendar month. So if I use all 5 if I use all 5 instant borrows this week, I will have to wait until April 1st to be able to access any more instant borrows. So you only get 5 a month for the instant with the lightning bolt. With the new Flex option, this behaves more like Libby, where you can have up to 3 Flex checkouts at any time. Meaning if I borrow a Flex book and I return a Flex book, I can borrow another Flex book. Anybody have any questions about that? And if not, if you have any questions right now, but you end up having questions after we finish the workshop, you can definitely forward questions to Leslie and she can forward them to me. Or if Leslie does, I don't mind if Leslie shares my email address with people. Or I can even put my email address in the chat when we're done here. We can talk about answering
That would
those
be great.
questions.
Tom,
Yeah.
if people would direct their questions directly to you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to like
I'm
inundate
not
your
full
inbox
time.
with, right.
Yeah, I'm not
So
full
that makes
time.
more sense. I'll put it right in the chat.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, once I stop sharing my screen, I'll throw my email address in the chat. Because the other thing I want to mention, we can talk more about this at the end as well, is the library on Wednesdays has one-on-one tech help by appointment at noon and 1 p.m. But they're very popular, so you have to make appointments for those. But that's something else I will share the link to that at the end as well. Okay, so just to clarify, under My Hoopla, currently borrowed, this gives you all the information you know as far as where your account is standing with how many instant borrows you can borrow and how many Flex borrows you can borrow. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the home page by clicking Hoopla. So the other thing I like to point out to people, and this depends on each individual patron, what your personal borrowing habits are. Personally, I typically know exactly what I want to look for. So that's why if I know what I want to look for, I'll use the keyword search field at the top of the screen. So you can search by title, you can search by author up there. Some people just like to browse visually. So if you're on the home screen and you're more of a visual browser, you can just scroll this home screen. So if you notice where I have recently borrowed, I can click see more. This is middle section of the screen. This is actually called a carousel. So these are recent borrows that I checked out. If I want to see more of what I borrowed, I can click where it says see more on the right. What they'll also do, if I continue scrolling down the page, recommend titles that they think I might be interested in based on my previous checkouts. So this is another carousel that I can scroll through by clicking the arrow on the far right. And then I can keep scrolling if I want to. So the trending carousel might be a good area to start if you're not familiar with this. Because what it means by trending is these are really popular titles from all of Hoopla's users, not just what I've been borrowing, but like what people have been borrowing from other libraries as well. So you can scroll through the trending carousel if you wanted to. And instead of clicking the caret that takes me left, right, I clicked on I'll go back one step. I clicked where it says see more. If you notice where it says see more, where my cursor is, if you click on see more, it gives you a full page. And then instead of scrolling from left to right, you would scroll from top to bottom to see what all is trending with Hoopla users right now. And again, most of these are have that lightning bolt icon. The most of these are available at any time you want. Okay, let me back up a step here. Keep scrolling. So here are the binge passes. Now, I never actually have borrowed a binge pass before. I'm gonna go ahead and just click on one real quick. I'm not that familiar with them. So the Hallmark movie binge pass. So I'm gonna click on that, see what happens. So basically, if I borrow the Hallmark movies binge pass, I get 7 days of unlimited access to this platform through the Hoopla binge pass. Now, what's nice about it is if you get unlimited access to this binge pass, it only counts as one checkout for you. So that's something that people can experiment with if they like the binge pass or not. Let me back up a step. And then after scrolling through that, we get the Flex eBooks. Remember, eBooks are based books that you would read. If I keep scrolling, now we have the popular Flex audiobooks. Those are the digital books that you would listen to.
I have a question.
Okay.
Sometimes when I need to read read one of the library books for my book club, and I only have a week to do it, and then I go onto the library site to try to get that book, and I'm number 9th in line or something. No, I'm not going to be able to read it. Is it possible I might find it on Hoopla? Is your collection, in other words, is the Hoopla collection matched to yours so that
No,
you have?
it's not.
It's totally different.
Pretty much, yes.
So I might find it on Hoopla.
Well, then that's a good question. I mean, you can still search Hoopla for it. Like if you search the library's, in fact, real quick, let me do that real quick. I'm gonna go to the library's traditional website. Oops, hang on, typo. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm visiting the catalog that most of us are probably familiar with digital services. So this catalog will show if I search, do you have a current book that you'd like me to search?
Well, I'm just checking to see which one. I mean, I would have to sign on to the library to see.
But what book club is your book
I'm
currently
number
reading?
9 in line for some book, and I'll do it myself. It's no problem.
Okay, so basically, this is the usual catalog people search for. This catalog will give you results for everything, whether it's a book in print, a book on physical CD, or the movie version of the book on DVD. This will show you everything. So for instance, if I search Harry Potter here, It'll show us everything. But what it doesn't typically show, and we're working on this to make a change, it won't show you what we have in Hoopla. So if you're curious about what we have available in Hoopla, you want to go directly to the Hoopla website itself. Now we're hoping to change that by linking this catalog with our Hoopla catalog. So in the future, you can search this catalog for Hoopla titles, but currently that's not the case. But like the first result on this search is a DVD.
Okay,
There's
so
fewer
Hoopla-
actually DVDs.
Okay, so Tom, I have a question as well, and it might refine this other question. So basically, let's say the book The Wager, which is, you know, big bestseller this year. And I have all sorts of libraries on my account. I have Brooklyn, I have New York City, I have Finger Lakes, I have Cornell. I can't find it in any of those. Is it possible that it's available on Hoopla, or is Hoopla connected to these library? Are you getting it through the Tompkins County Library if you're using Hoopla, or are you getting it from some entity called Hoopla Library?
Right. Thank you for. So that's a great example. So is this the title you're talking about by David Gran?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it's very popular with members at the Finger Lakes Library System. Although if you needed it, you probably get I'm looking right here where it says system availability. There's 13 copies of this book available from other libraries in the Finger Lakes system, and this is the print version of the book. But we can also go to Hoopla, and I want to pause before we search for The Wager. This is the very bottom of the Hoopla homepage, and I scroll to the very bottom. The reason I did this, I wanted to show you far right, the Hoopla app is available at the Apple Store, the Amazon App Store, and on the Google Play Store. I'm pretty sure it's available with Roku too. And then they have all these are different links that you can click on with if you have any other questions, you need information. Like this is a good one right here, patron support, frequently asked questions. So we'll visit that later, but I wanted to search, now that we have a title to look up, I'm gonna go back to the top of the screen and we'll search for The Wager and see what happens. So we're gonna search, instead of searching for Harry Potter, we'll search all formats for The Wager. Okay, now, so here it is. This is a good example, actually. The Wager by David Gran. I can tell by just below the cover artwork, there's a little icon of headphones and it says audiobook. So you could borrow The Wager as an audiobook and listen to it.
Wow, I'm surprised that that's available.
And what's also interesting is this is one of the newer formats that we just subscribed to. It's the Flex version of the book. It's got the curling arrows. If I borrow this, and I can borrow it right now, depending on how many Flex copies of this book that we've purchased for the library, if I borrow it right now and we only have one copy, it might not be available anymore after I borrow it. But I think this is a good title for me to borrow, because once I borrow it, I can show you the different features that are built into the audiobook, as far as like pressing play, pressing pause, skipping ahead 30 seconds, skipping back 30 seconds, things like that. So let me go ahead and borrow this book. And then when I'm done with it, I'll go ahead and check it back in case anybody else actually really wants to borrow it. Well, let's go ahead and borrow this real quick. So I'm gonna click on the cover artwork. And then I'm gonna click on the little blue borrow button. And so this is saying this title is available for 21 days after I borrow it. And I can stream or download the title if I want to. And it said, are you sure you want to borrow this title? I'm going to go ahead and click the blue button again to borrow it. Okay, so I have just borrowed this book. Now, my question is, since it's one of the newer Flex style titles, I want to repeat some steps. I'm going to go back to the Hoopla homepage.
Okay, so Tom, let me ask a question then, because I went into the Finger Lakes Library through Libby while we were talking and put in The Wager as an audiobook, and they said that it's this huge wait. and
Right.
you got it right away through Hoopla. So that suggests that
Right.
Hoopla is another way to get books that might be totally not available at any of the libraries through Libby. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, but
Oh.
again, I want to
And that's
highlight
it.
the fact that this is one of the newer Flex style checkouts. I'm going to search the wager again and see if it's still available because I just borrowed it. Let me find out. I'm searching for
According to mine, it's not available.
okay.
And now,
What that tells me is we only bought one copy of this particular book in the Flex format. So, and like I said, I'm going to use the wager as an example, teach everyone how to look at an audiobook. But when I'm done with it, I'm also going to demonstrate how to return a book early. That way, when I check the book in, if you want to borrow it through Hoopla, you can do so. Does that make sense?
I've already read it. I just
Oh, okay.
I knew that it was going to be popular and probably
Right.
not available, which is why I suggested it.
Right. Okay. But you bring up a very good point. If, let's say, for whatever reason, personal preference, that Libby is your primary go-to digital resource for borrowing things, maybe because you weren't aware of Hoopla. If you can't find it on Libby or there's a long wait on Libby, then I would definitely suggest visiting Hoopla to see if it's available through Hoopla.
Okay,
The catalogs don't sync up 100%, but it is possible that there are titles that are available through both services.
gotcha. Okay, so the fact that
Yes.
it's not available on any of my libraries doesn't suggest that you don't go to Hoopla. It suggests you
Right.
do because it might be.
Right.
Okay. And does it count against your library, the number of books you can take out?
I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to go back to where it says My Hoopla on the top left. I'm going to go where it says currently borrowed. This will be updated now. So the lightning bolt borrows, I still have 5 available because I did not borrow that as a lightning bolt instant. I borrowed this as one of my flex borrows. So I used to have 3 flex borrows available because I just borrowed the wager. Now I only have 2 flex borrows available. If you ever have questions about what do I have out and how many do I have left, please visit the currently borrowed screen. And it'll give you that information.
That's specific to Hoopla or specific to
This
Tom?
is, yeah, what I'm showing you right now is specifically for Hoopla.
Okay.
But if you
Right.
turn it back in, you have 3 again.
Right. If I return the wager at the end of the demonstration, I'll have 3 flex borrows back. That's correct.
Right. Same as Libby, yeah.
Yeah. So let me actually, since I borrowed the wager, I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate how the audiobook works in Hoopla. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm under currently borrowed. I'm gonna click on the wager. And so it's giving me a description of the book itself, but below the cover artwork is the play button. So I'm gonna click play. Is anyone able to hear anything?
No.
No, I don't hear it either.
No.
Maybe I need to turn up the volume on my
What about
laptop.
that X? But there's an X to the right of your sound icon. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, what happened? I just closed that window is what happened.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but the volume's up. Oh, here it is. On my end, I can hear the narrator speaking. Can anyone else hear the narrator speaking?
No, you have to set up share screen. You have to select that
Okay.
No.
tab when you're initially sharing screen to share audio. So that's okay.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll visually demonstrate the controls in the audio player. I can hear what the narrator's saying, but you folks can't, but that's okay. I'll just still show you the tools that you can use. So the one tool I want to show everybody is opposite the X. So we saw the X on this far right. On the far left is the caret pointing up. If you click on that caret, it expands the playback screen. This is important because here are your primary controls right in the middle of the screen here. You have your play pause button. I'm gonna click that real quick. So here's the play button. Now, if you need to, you can you can skip backwards 30 seconds at a time. or you can skip forward 30 seconds at a time. If you need to see the chapter listing, it's right just below the play button is the chapter listing. So here are all the different chapters. If you want to set a bookmark, let me scroll back up a little bit. If you want to set a bookmark in the book, this little ribbon icon right here, you would click it. So I just created one bookmark. Now, if you want to see your bookmark history, you scroll back down and you click where it says bookmark plural. You would give that a click. It shows the bookmark history. Now, since I only have one bookmark established, it's only showing me the one bookmark. If I had a dozen bookmarks established, it would list all 12 bookmarks under that screen right there. The other two kind of very neat features are the sleep feature on the left side of this menu. The sleep feature allows you to set a time. If you're listening to an audiobook and you're about to also go to sleep, you don't want the audiobook to play throughout the night while you're sleeping. So you could set a sleep timer to have the audiobook turn off in an hour. Or if you're started like a chapter, maybe you started chapter 5, you don't want the book to continue playing past chapter 5, you can set the sleep timer for end of chapter. So that's what the sleep timer lets you do. And then on the far right, there's the playback speed. So what this does is now, currently the default is for one-time speed, meaning if I click the play button, I will hear the narrator reading the book at one-time speed, his normal voice. If I click the one-time speed button, I can speed it up if I want to. Just keep in mind, the more you speed it up, the more you're gonna get, like, the author will sound more like uh-oh, my lights are going off because I'm not moving. We have automated lights in the library here, so they'll dim if I don't stay active. Okay, at any rate, so if we're talking about playback speed, one-time speed is normal cadence of the author. But if you speed it up like 2 times speed, it'll sound like, the best example I can give is like Alvin and the Chipmunks kind of a thing. And even gives you, at the very bottom, you can speed up the author or the narrator as much as 4 times their normal cadence. That would be like a really fast playback sound. Since you can't hear the playback of the audiobook when I click play, I'm not going to demonstrate that. But I would recommend sticking with one-time speed. So those are the built-in tools as far as if you're listening to an audiobook, what you can do. You can click the play button. You can fast forward and rewind at 30 seconds at a time. You can set a sleep timer. You can create bookmarks up at the top. You can look at all of your bookmarks at the bottom. You can look at the chapters. And you can change the playback speed. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and, top left corner, I'm going to go ahead and collapse the book back to that bottom where we saw it initially. And then actually I'm going to click the red X to close it. So, I don't really intend on listening to this entire book. So another thing I can tell you, teach you really quickly is, once you're done with a book, if you want to check it in early to let someone else have their turn with it, right here where is the return button. Now, it does say it'll return on its own. So because I borrowed it at 12:34 on Thursday, March 7th, it'll let me borrow this right up until 12:34 on Thursday, March 28th. That's how, because it's digital, they can check it in. That's the other thing. All books that are digital, they get checked in automatically on their own. You don't have to do anything to it. They'll just check it in by itself.
That looks like it's jumped to daylight saving time because it's only 11 something now.
That's a good point. Yeah, because we are springing ahead this Sunday. That's a good point. So, yeah, so if you borrow a digital book and you forget about returning it, you don't have to worry about that. It'll get returned all by itself. But at the same time, if you know you finished the book early, you want to be considerate of other people waiting their turn, you want to return it early, you can click the return button right here.
Excuse me, I just, this is Lorene Gilbert. I
Yep.
just wanted to say that I just checked Amazon Prime on my TV, and the Hoopla app is available.
Oh, okay,
So for people who might want to know that.
sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and return this title real quick. Boop. So I'm returning the book. So now I want to answer the question. If I go back to my Hoopla, see what I currently have borrowed. So now if we notice, because I just returned that title, I'm back to having up to 3 flex borrows at the same time. So just to reiterate, lightning bolt means you get 5 a month. If you check out all 5 in 1 month, you have to wait till the first of the next month to borrow any more lightning bolt titles. But with the flex borrows, if you return one, you can get a new one. And if anyone's familiar with how the Libby app works, they're very similar in that regard. Okay. So next, let me go ahead and click the Hoopla homepage button in the top left corner. Now, I don't think the wager was available as a text-based book to read. Let me go ahead and check that real quick. In fact, what I'll do is I'll keep the wager in the search field at the top of the screen, but I'm going to check eBooks and see what comes up. Right. So there are other books with the word wager in the title, but I don't think the book that we're looking for is one of them. I don't see it available. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to the home page. Let's see, do we have any Harry Potter ebooks? Okay, so I searched ebooks specifically for Harry Potter. I'm gonna just borrow one of the Harry Potter ebooks real quick. That way I can demonstrate the different features built into the ebook, the different tools that you can use to borrow and read an ebook. Okay, so I'm gonna click borrow. Borrow title. Okay, so I just borrowed the Harry Potter book. Go to my Hoopla, currently borrowed. So we have some updates to what I've currently borrowed. So for the lightning bolt style of borrows, the instant borrows, I only have 4 left for the rest of March. So if I use all 4 this week, that means I have to wait till April 1st to borrow any more instant titles. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Harry Potter book real quick. I'm gonna click on the title, Harry Potter. I'm gonna click where it says read. Okay, so this is a text-based ebook, and I'm using a computer to read it. So what I'm gonna do to read this book on a computer is use the arrow keys on my keyboard, tapping left and right. All I'm doing right now is turning pages. So here is chapter 1. On a tablet or a smartphone, instead of tapping those keys on the keyboard, you could just swipe with your fingertip left and right, and it'll turn the pages that way. But the reason I wanted to borrow a book, so I can also show you the tools that are built into the ebooks. So top right corner, we can create bookmarks by clicking on the ribbon in the top right corner. I give that a click. Instead of the outline of the bookmark, it fills in the outline. Now it's a solid bookmark. So that's how you create your bookmark. On the far left, there's 3 menu lines in the corner of the top left. So I'm going to click on that. So the first feature built into the book is the search feature. That's handy if maybe you want to search a character's name and see how often they appear in the book. You can search, like, obviously if I search Harry, it's gonna show up a lot. Oh, here we go. Okay. It took a while because I'm sure Harry Potter's name is almost on every page of the book, to be quite honest. But that's a good use of the search tool. You can search for, or like maybe not necessarily a character's name, but maybe there's like an important building or street or city in the book that you want to search. You can also add that in there. Like maybe I'll try London. So I searched London inside the book, and so the word London appears in the book as well. That's a demonstration of the search feature. If you want to see your chapter listing, you just click on the chapters word. It'll show all the chapters. And then to get out of the chapters, you just click the left arrow on the top left. You can click bookmarks. So remember that I just created a bookmark today, and it's the only bookmark that I created, so it's not going to show me anything else but the one bookmark I just created. You can search highlight. I have not created a highlight, so let me do that real quick. I'm going to close this by clicking on the X. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the villagers, the very first words of the first. I'm highlighting this with my mouse. Let me use a bright color here. Okay. So on a computer, you can click and drag and highlight a phrase or a word. If you're using a tablet or a smartphone and you feel the need you wanted to highlight something in a book, you would just use your fingertip or a stylus. You would tap and press and hold on it. So I just highlighted something in the books, and now if I go back to the menu in the top left corner, and I click on highlight, it identifies I just highlighted a phrase, the villagers of Little Hangleton. And just to clarify, you don't have to use all these features if you don't want to. These are all optional features. But the important one I wanted a little bit more time on is the settings. So just below highlight settings. Settings is where you can really control the appearance of your ebook to your personal preferences. So for instance, the very first option is screen brightness. Excuse me. I'm dragging the slider bar for screen brightness to the left, and you can tell what's happening. It's darkening the entire book. So I'm going to guess most people want to keep it to the far right. Now the font is what the word or the text or the lettering looks like. So if you have a preferred font and you click the drop-down menu for a font, you can change it to whatever you want to. Well, within reason. They only give you a certain number of fonts to choose from, but you can change it to any of these fonts if you want to. And honestly, I'm not sure what the difference is between any of these fonts. I'm going to leave it at default for now. But this one, right, the next option, text size. If you drag the text size slider to the far right, let's see what happens. Now, because I dragged it all the way to the far right, it might take a while for this to update. That's why we see the little icon in the middle of the screen here. I may have dragged it too far to the right to demonstrate the effectiveness of the computer's thinking. Let me see if I can do something about that. All right. Let's go to a different setting for now. Below text size, you make the text bold. Once the text appears, I'll give an example of what happens if you bold the text. So below bolding text is your option for theme. basically all it is the different background color behind the lettering. Excuse me. Okay, I just selected the sepia theme. Now, because I did that, it's also letting me see the text size of the book. So I slid the text size slider all the way to the far right. And so this is how big the text can be while you're reading an ebook. Let me make it a little bit smaller, hopefully without confusing it too much.
Do you have
For
any
me,
idea what it would look like if it was all the way over to the largest size? I have a friend who has can barely see, and I'm just wondering if she could read
right.
if it was
Yeah, because it'll get pretty big. So like what I'm showing you right now is pretty much all the way to the far right. That's pretty big. I don't know how ideal it is. There are other settings we could play with. So in fact, right now I have text size all the way to the far right. And then if I bold it, so it says bold text, it's this little toggle switch right here. If I click that and turn bolding on, it's going to be even thicker.
Is this trying to do a whole chapter?
Well,
Or,
it's gonna set up the whole book this way.
oh, but you can't just see an example without it.
Right.
Mm.
Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna go back to sepia. All right, so what we did is we currently have the text is as big as it can be, and it's also bolded. Now, because I have a smaller screen, it's not ideal for reading. But one thing we could try, if I scroll the menu for the settings, what I could try that might help if you look at where it says 2-column. Currently, the default is 2-column. It's more of like a natural book look on your screen, meaning you have books on the left side of the screen. I'm sorry, you have words on the left side of the screen, words on the right side of the screen. If I change this to a single column, this might be a little bit better by having a single column.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
have the text as large as possible. You're only looking at the pages as a single column. And then I'm just doing right now is I'm just turning the pages with the arrow keys on my keyboard. That might work for somebody, single column. Again, these are just things people want to like, experiment with on their own to see which settings work best for them. You can also adjust the line spacing. So if I do a large line spacing, you see the difference? I haven't really used the margin size much at all, and I don't usually use these two, margin size and text alignment. I don't usually use either of those features. But the other thing I wanted to mention was, if you do choose to turn off 2-column, meaning everything's 1 column, and you're using a laptop to read, you could turn on vertical scrolling, which is more like how you look at a web page. Instead of going left, right, you would go up, down. So if I turn on vertical scrolling, I would scroll through the book top to bottom. See the difference? Instead of going left to right, I'm going top to bottom. Again, there's no right or wrong with this, it's just personal preference, so whatever works best for you. So those are the different settings built into the ebook. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of this. Oh, here's the, I should probably show you the very bottom of this menu where it says close reader. Close reader is if you want to get back to searching for more books, movies, or music. So to get out of your book, you would click close reader. And here we are back to the Hoopla webpage. So I also wanted to quickly demonstrate like borrowing a movie and borrowing some music. Let's go back to Hoopla's homepage. Browse. I'm gonna go ahead and browse movies. Now there's categories for movies and television, but they pretty much behave the same because they're just video playback. So I'm gonna go ahead and look at the movies real quick. Also, to the best of my knowledge, most of the movies that we have on Hoopla are all going to have the lightning bolt icon. I don't think we're currently borrowing or purchasing movies or music for Hoopla to take advantage of that flex feature. All movies and music are instant, so they'll have that lightning bolt icon. Also, I'm going to focus on the Oppenheimer title. This is not the movie that was released recently last summer. This is more of a documentary. But what Hoopla does is because it's aware that Oppenheimer, the Oppenheimer movie that was released last year is still very popular and we're all aware of this recent release, they're going to capitalize on that knowledge and they're going to offer like the documentary version of the movie. But this is not the Christopher Nolan movie, just to be clear about that. But I'm going to go ahead and use this as an example of how to borrow a movie or television show through Hoopla. So I'm going to click on Oppenheimer. I'm going to go ahead and click borrow. I just borrowed Oppenheimer, so now I'm going to go back to my Hoopla, currently borrowed. So the key thing I want to point out about the movie, so we look at my currently borrowed screen. I'm now down to 3 instant borrows. So I just borrowed today, I borrowed the Harry Potter book and I borrowed the Oppenheimer movie. If we notice, it says the Harry Potter book returns in 21 days versus Oppenheimer returns in 3 days. So I'm going to go over that real quick. If you borrow any books, whether it's a book to read or a book to listen to through Hoopla, you get those for 21 days. If you borrow music from Hoopla, you get that for 7 days. If you borrow a video, whether it's a television or a movie, that's only 3 days. So basically, I have 3 days from today to watch the rest of this Oppenheimer documentary. I'm going to go ahead and click on the play button now so we can see how to do a playback of Oppenheimer or any kind of video through Hoopla. Let me pause this. So I use this to demonstrate when I was at McGraw House. So I'm going to go ahead to it's about 2 minutes into the movie. I'm going to back it up a bit to the beginning. Remember where I left off. Okay, so if you notice the menu in the bottom of the screen, there's a play button. So I'm gonna go ahead now, instead of clicking play, I'm gonna click on pause and go over the tools. Okay, so we have Oppenheimer currently playing. The play button's in the middle of the screen. To the left and right of the play button, you can fast forward at 10 seconds at a time. Also, going to the right at the bottom is the volume. So currently it's at max volume. I can lower it if I need to, or I can maximize it if I need to. If you're on a computer, you want to enter full screen mode, that's what this box is for, in the far right bottom corner. So currently I'm not in full screen mode, but if I click that box, I've just entered full screen mode. Now on a laptop computer or a desktop computer, the default to exit full screen mode on a computer is just to find your escape key on the keyboard and tap the escape key to exit full screen mode. Or in Hoopla, if you're in full screen mode and you want to exit full screen mode, you can click the same area where you just click to enter full screen mode to exit. See how the little icon on the bottom right here? It's not a box anymore. It's more like 4 triangles pointing to the center. That would also exit full screen mode if you want to. So I just exited. And hopefully people will, like, as I highlight this little icon in the bottom right corner, we can tell the difference. Currently, we are not in full screen mode. I click on it and we enter full screen mode. And then if I click it again, we exit full screen mode. In the top right corner, there's more settings. There's an exclamation point. So the exclamation point is just to help provide them feedback of something, if you're experiencing any kind of troubles with the playback. You can say my video froze, there's an issue with the sounds, you would just click on one of these buttons and then click submit feedback. Now I'm not currently experiencing any difficulties. I'm gonna go ahead and click the X. That was the exclamation point. To the right of the exclamation point is the settings button. So this is where you can pick if you want to turn subtitles on or off. Currently subtitles are turned off. So I can click, if I click on the English, I've just turned them on. Now, once I turn them on, if I click on the blue caption settings button, this is where I can adjust my caption settings to my preference. I can have the caption setting, like the size could be large if I want to. I can have the text color be yellow. And the background color can be black. I'm gonna leave it black for now. So once I'm happy with, like, I want yellow, I want extra large, I want black, I'm gonna go ahead and click done. So now I have captions turned on. I'm gonna click the little red X in the top right corner. And I'm gonna click play. So as soon as someone starts speaking in the movie, we'll see those captions appear on the screen. So I'm gonna click play, let's see what happens. I'm gonna press pause real quick. Now, we all notice that basically at the top of the screen, the bottom of the screen, we can see like Oppenheimer Real Story. We see our menu options in the top right corner. We see some menu options on the bottom of the screen. If we want those to disappear, all you really need to do is just don't use the trackpad on a laptop or don't use your mouse, and they will disappear eventually. So let me demonstrate that. I'm gonna go ahead and click play, and then I'm not gonna use the mouse at all. And let's just see what happens. So that's basically, if you want that menu to disappear, press play and then just don't use your mouse or your keyboard. And that menu will eventually disappear. Now, to bring it back, all you really need to do is either use your mouse again or the trackpad on your laptop or tap a key on your keyboard, like the space bar. So what I just did, I tapped the space bar, and not only did it bring the menu back, it also paused the video. Now, the controls on a tablet, smartphone, or smart TV will be a little bit different. You would use your finger to control these different features.
Hi, everybody. This is Leslie. Hey, Tom. This has
Yes.
been absolutely wonderful. And I I do want to acknowledge that it's about 10 after 12, and I don't want people to, if folks have other obligations, we understand, and you need to move on.
Mhm.
Feel free to do so. Would this
Yep.
be a good point for any unanswered questions?
Sure.
Any-
If people don't mind, I can quickly, it shouldn't take too long. I can just demonstrate quickly how to borrow something that's music related.
Great.
That's okay, or we can just do questions. It's up to them.
The music would be great for another
Okay,
few minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do a real quick music demonstration. Let's try the Hamilton music. Oh, it's got the PA for parental advisory. I might skip that. Let's see. How about, well, we'll try the Kung Fu Panda music. Let's just see what that sounds like. I click on Kung Fu Panda. I'll click borrow. Borrow again. And then I'm going to go back to my Hoopla on the top left. Currently borrowed. So Kung Fu Panda is good for 7 days. I'll go ahead and click the play button. Now, this is kind of similar to like an audiobook where when I click the play button, the menu shows up at the bottom. But if I want to make it bigger, I click that caret in the bottom left corner of the screen. This will show us different controls. Pause. It also gives us the track listing if we want the track listing. So we got the play button. You can skip to different tracks with the left and right with the triangle with the line. I'll skip to the next track. The other two icons, people like to listen to their music on shuffle mode. That's this icon here. So it'll shuffle the music. And then on the left side of the menu, this is like the playback where if you want the album to start over once it ends, like if I'm at the last song number 17, this is highlighted. Go back to song number 1. So these controls are very similar to what you would have on like a CD player, if you're familiar with a CD player. And then to close it, you click the X in the top right corner to close it. So that was just a quick demonstration of like a music album. But the controls are very similar to the audiobook.
So I have a quick question, I think.
Go
So
ahead.
if I download Hoopla onto my laptop and I want to download it into my phone and I get the app, do I have to have a different Hoopla password for the phone?
No, you'd actually, if you're using Hoopla on multiple devices, you want to sign in with the same exact information on all of them. That way they'll sync. So whatever checkouts you checked out on your phone will eventually also show up once you sign in on your laptop or a smart TV. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
How
Sure.
about between a iPad and a PC?
Nope, same thing. If you're using multiple devices, you just want to make sure to sign in with the same exact information. Like at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen so I can enter my email address in the chat real quick. I put my email address in the chat, and I'm also gonna put in the library's webpage, tcpl.org, because like I mentioned at one point during the conversation or the workshop, on Wednesdays at noon and then Wednesdays at 1, patrons are available to, by appointment, visit us in person and get one-on-one tech help from a couple of volunteers that we have on staff. So if that's something that sounds like if that's something that additionally you think will help you with whatever tech questions, it doesn't have to be just Hoopla either. It could be computer help questions, email help questions, things like that.
That's
Okay, let me
Thank
do
you
this.
so much for all the support that you offer. It's really astounding. We're so in love with, we love our library, don't we?
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna real quick throw another piece of information into the chat box. So what I'm doing is the library has a digital calendar on our webpage. I should be able to send what's it called? Let me see. I think it may be called technology help on our calendar. So what I'm doing is I'm searching our website calendar for technology help. And what I can do is put that link in the chat as well. Oops, hang on one second. Let's see. Yep, this is what I want right here. So I searched our website calendar with the keywords technology help. And the way our website calendar is built is I'm going to paste in the chat box a link for the upcoming appointments. Now, whether or not someone's already booked them, I can't answer that, but if you follow this link, it'll show you the upcoming appointments. And then it's just a matter of whether or not someone else has scheduled that appointment with one of our tutors.
Great.
Yeah. And I can, Leslie, if you want, I can email you this link later, and then you can forward that link to everyone who's in attendance. Because that link should remain the same, no matter if it's March, April, May, that link should always work because it's more of a keyword search. And
Okay.
it's showing upcoming. If you can even see it in the web address itself, it says upcoming, and then it says keywords technology help. So no matter when you click on this, as long as we're still offering the service, it should show you what dates are coming that those appointments are available.
I copied it, so I'm all set.
Cool. Okay.
This has been so helpful. You explain things wonderfully.
Thank you. Well,
And, you
a
know,
little
easy to
background.
follow.
Yeah, so I have work experience as a preschool teacher. And when I went to library school, I had the specialization that for school media, meaning I was going to be either a middle school or high school librarian. So part of my background is instructional. So I'm happy to.
There you go.
I'm happy for the feedback, and I'm glad that you found this was helpful.
It was great, Tom. Thank you so much.
Great.
Any
Yeah,
other
well-
last questions or comments? Tom or Ann? All right. Well, thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you.
Of course, I'm now super looking forward to next month.
Right. So next month is Canopy. And
Canopy.
the easiest way I can describe Canopy, I always call it Netflix for public libraries, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So there isn't any real reading or like audiobooks involved. It's just straight television,
Streaming.
movies, documentaries, things like that.
Wonderful. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Cool. You're
As
welcome.
always, thank you for your time, Tom. It's been
No problem.
wonderful.
My pleasure. I'm glad to help.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Tom.